You're watching Alaska's news source.
The U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services is in Alaska. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. held a press conference moments after announcing $500 million in canceled vaccine development funding.
Will Courtney was at that conference today, and he asked the secretary, if not those vaccines, then what is the alternative? Will joins us now. Will, what did you learn?
That's right, John and Adelmi. 22 projects based around the mRNA flu and COVID-19 vaccines will be affected by this cancellation, following the cancellation of that funding. But that wasn't the reason behind Tuesday's press conference.
Gathered at the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium, Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. sat between Senators Lisa Murkowski and Dan Sullivan. Tuesday's topic, the impact of the Big Beautiful Bill, which barely passed Congress weeks ago. Opposers to the bill, including several gathered outside, said cuts to Medicaid included in that piece of legislation could spell disaster for Alaska. The secretary, though, said impact wouldn't be felt.
You've been inundated up here by advertisements saying that there's cuts to Medicaid, Medicare. That is.
Gathered at the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium, Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. sat between Senators Lisa Murkowski and Dan Sullivan. Tuesday's topic, the impact of the Big Beautiful Bill, which barely passed Congress weeks ago. Opposers to the bill, including several gathered outside, said cuts to Medicaid included in that piece of legislation could spell disaster for Alaska. The secretary, though, said impact wouldn't be felt.
You've been inundated up here by advertisements saying that there's cuts to Medicaid, Medicare. That is not true. The cuts that are happening are to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse.
While the Big Beautiful Bill was the focus, Kennedy fielded questions on a variety of subjects, including his recent announcement that $500 million of vaccine funding would be canceled. We were the first to ask if mRNA vaccines aren't sufficient, what's the alternative?
Right now, we're developing a universal vaccine at NIH, which is a vaccine that addresses the entire phylum of viruses. And so it's a vaccine that mimics natural immunity. And it is effective against any kind of mutation, so it doesn't drive the virus to mutate.
Outside the building, protesters gathered, including John Haas, who held a sign saying, "Don't cut the head off Native health care."
Are you concerned that Secretary Kennedy is putting Native health care on the chopping block?
Yes.
And how come?
He's cutting Medicare.
Yeah.
And why would he come for this next?
Yeah.
And that person answering my question to John was his sister Emily. Both her and John are Alaska Native and told me it was, in their words, a moral duty to protest today. Kennedy is set to stay in the state for the next week and will visit Kenai tomorrow.
Oh, Will, you mentioned Senators Murkowski and Sullivan were at the presser today. Did they have any comments? What were they talking about?
Yeah, so I did actually ask them about their thoughts on the $500 million funding cancellation. They didn't answer my question. But going back a little bit to the Big Beautiful Bill, that's the Medicaid funding cut, right? Sullivan has been a big proponent for the Big Beautiful Bill for a long time. Murkowski, not so much. He was actually a key vote in getting that bill ultimately passed, which she did vote for, as I'm sure you remember, John. But going to those Medicaid cuts, the narrative has been a little bit different between Sullivan and Murkowski. Sullivan said these Medicaid cuts included in that bill aren't going to affect Alaska, but Murkowski's narrative has been a little bit different, and she's actually not so sure.
All right, political reporter Will Courtney. Thank you very much, Will.